Kalkalosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Halacha for day 72. Yeah, it says Siman 27, page 176. Halacha Ain Vav. Okay, we're talking about now when the straps they turned around. So yeah, so it says like this: Im nitapcha retzua shesaviv harosh וכן הרצועה שקושר בה קציצה, ופשע בזה, שאף שהרגיש בשעת הנחה שנפחה רצועה, ניתצל לתקן אותה, יתנה יום אחד. He says, if right now the strap, which is around the head, got inverted, and you realized it, so זאת אומרת, שמת לב לזה, but you didn't turn around, right? You realized it, you didn't turn around. There's ידיעה בהתחלה ובסוף, yeah? So he says he has to fast for one day. However, though, if it was only by accident, you're not chayav to do ta'anit. Mimidat chasidut, you could do ta'anit. Yeah, everyone understood. So one more time. Yesterday, we finished off by saying that these ones, shemitapchim, atalot tzarich lasot. Right? But we're talking about the one of the actual, how do you call them? The ones which are actually on the head, right? Not the ones which are going down, right? The ones on the head, right? And the back part. That part, if it turned around, you have to do ta'anit, if you did it on purposely. If you didn't do it on purpose, when you didn't realize, so then, en chayav litanot, b'midat chasidut there is. Now he says, uben Torah she'ta'anit tafriya lo b'limudo v'yesh chashav v'itut Torah. One of he's going to start learning, if he's going to start doing ta'anit, he's not going to learn. If that ta'anit b'tzedakah, just pay with tzedakah, and you get out of it. And look later on in Siman Mem, halacha chet. Okay? Now he comes and he says, this is only, did you realize, at the time that you put it on. What happens if you put it on properly and only afterwards did it turn around? So that's Ein Zayin. You put on the tefillin, everything properly. And only after the hanacha did it turn around. And tzarich litanot. You don't have to do ta'anit. Even midat chasidut, nothing. Right? Halacha Ein Chet. מעיקר הדין אין להקפיד שלא יתהפכו רצועות, אלא בחלק הרצועה מקיף את הראש ואת הקיבורת פעם אחת. אבל מה שקורה אחר כך על ידו, וכן מה שמשלשל לפניו ברצועה של תפילין של ראש, אין איסור מן הדין, right? אין איסור מן הדין צריך שיתהפך, לפי שאינו מעיקר המצווה. Meaning like this. Everything that we're talking about here is the ikar of the mitzvah. The ikar of the mitzvah is here, on the rosh, right? With the strap here, with the dalet, or on the tefillin shel yad. Here, anything which turns around, or the ones here coming down, right? The ritzuot over here, if they turn around, and kilu, and any suminadin, there's no problem. Why? It's not the ikar mitzvah. Mikomakom, even though it's not mikar mitzvah, noi mitzvah. It's beauty. So for the beauty of the mitzvah, ra'ui la'afoch, you have to turn it around. Sheyesh shachor letzad chutz, that it should be black on the outside, even on the other parts of the ritzuah. And even so, even from midat chasidut. Meaning, many times, you have people that they come here and they have it backwards. That part, again, noi. It's not even a midat chasidut. It's mamash noi mitzvah, beauty. It's not halacha. There's no questions whatsoever, right? There's no ta'aniyo, no nothing, nada. The only thing is, it's beauty of the mitzvah.
Both sides.
So footnote 193, the Gemara. This Mosech Moed Katan speaks about one day that Rav Huna discovered that the strap of his tefillin was inverted. So he fasted for 40 days to atone for it. Line it up. Yeah, 40 days. The Rosh brings down two responses to the Geonim commenting on the story. One explains that it was Rav Huna's tefillin shel Rosh with the inverted strap. And the fact that he fasted was strictly due to the extreme piety. Mimashi was like a big tzaddik. The Lacha does not require fasting at all, right? For committing such an error. The second one rule that if someone's strap is inverted, he must fast for one day. Whether it's a trap of tefillin shel yad or tefillin shel rosh. The 40 days fast, no, it's without. He says the 40-day fast of Rav Huna was for sure an act of piety. So the minute lechuli alma, according to all opinions, Rav Huna was a chumrah, right? That nobody's talking about, because nobody says 40 days. But the only question is, do you say that bichlal that is going to be only davka tefillin shel rosh or even tefillin shel yad? That's going to be number one. Number two, it's only obligated one day. And according to everybody, what he did was a chumrah, meaning like chasidut, not chumrah, it was a chasidut. But Rav Chida discovered the manuscript of another responsum that concurs with the second pshat of the Rosh, explaining that each person is responsible to pay attention to how he performs the mitzvah, especially one sacred as tefillin. If the strap became inverted as he was putting it on, and he didn't pay enough attention, so he's guilty of negligence, and that's why he has to fast. So to minute, Rav Chida was learning that at Keshatal mitzvah tatzrich lizaher. So if you have to do a mitzvah, you have to be careful. So how could it be that when you put it on, it was wrong? If you put it on properly, then afterwards something happened, there's a mashu acher. Because sometimes it's nachon. But im me'atchala ta samta et zeh, right? So that's something completely different. Despite this, the Magid Avraham, Harav Zalman, and the Mishabura all rule that technically there's no obligation to fast for even one day if this happens. Apparently, they follow the opinion of the first response, meaning there were two different shitot. Tshuva achat with tshuva shniya. The Rav Chida went like the tshuva shniya. The Magid Avraham and the Rav Zalman and Mishabura, they went like the tshuva rishona. The Rav Chida and the Ben Ish Chai, on the other hand, they said, no, you have to fast for one day. So the Kaf HaChaim Sofer noted that Maran did not mention anything about fasting at all. So it's obvious that Maran also went like the first response. He added that likewise, that's the opinion of the Rambam and the Tur, because they only said that one should just be careful that they're not inverted, but they didn't say anything about fasting. So therefore, Zotomeret, here it comes out that it's a huge machloket achronim. It's mashma that even Maran is not like the Rav Chida and Ben Ish Chai, meaning ataf pam lo tzarich litanot. Yeah, kacha ze mashma, right? Now he says, according to the response cited by the Rav Chida, if someone simply did not realize that the strap became inverted as he put it on, he still should fast, because again, it was like a negligence. And in fact, that's the ruling of Shirek and Etzegolah. The Ma'adnei Melech also overruled that in such a case, you don't have to do that. That Rav Chida complained that this ruling contradicts responsibly discovered. According to Maran, however, even if we do consider a person is guilty of a sin, there's no obligation to fast, right? If someone noticed that the strap was inverted and he did nothing to correct it, all the poskim agree that he's obligated to fast. So the minute, according to everybody, if he didn't correct it and they told him, so Amrulo, Zafu, I don't care. Then for sure he should fast. Right? But that's a completely different story. The Achronim ruled leniently. We're dealing with cases the person didn't realize. So although the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch do not mention any obligation to fast at all, because they discussed the halacha, we're going to people who care about the halacha and not that you made a mistake. So he says the Od Yosef Chai brought down the poskim that you're obligated to fast, right? And again, this is the more stringent. He says rule that there's obligation to fast only if the person knew that the strap was inverted and did not bother. So that means it comes out that the Od Yosef Chai was Chazarbo na Ben Ish Chai. Remember, the Od Yosef Chai came after the Ben Ish Chai, right? That was the Sefer afterwards. There's a Sefer Ben Ish Chai halachot, and then there's a Sefer Od Yosef Chai on halachot that also afterwards. So the Sefer Od Yosef Chai brought down that the obligation to fast is only if a person knew about it and he didn't bother to correct it. Not like the Ben Ish Chai. So therefore, it comes out that even the Ben Ish Chai could be was Chazarbo. He retracted. Okay? So therefore, he comes and he says, so that's why he says that it's only Midat Chasidut. Right? He says, the Rishon LeZion, though, right? He comes and he says, brings down to do with somebody that's, if the tefillin dropped on the floor, that he says that, for example, we said that let's say a person is learning Torah and they're going to start fasting, they won't be able to learn Torah. So he's allowed just to do pidyon, redeem it with money, tzedakah, for a meal, and that's it. So he says, this is what the Rav Ovadia also brings down. He says for one day with charity, one should give enough to pay for the food of one should have eaten the entire day. It varies with each individual. The Kaf HaChaim also added that although there's no obligation to fast for the sin, anyone who does so, right, is obviously a Yirat Shamayim. He's got, or for eating a small amount on that day, whatever the case is. Alternatively, he should limit himself to eating plain bread or just give charity, give tzedakah, and that's it. Okay? Fine. Number 195. This is talking about what happens if it only changed afterwards, meaning you put it on properly and then it turned around, right? Azi tapech. So he says, Rav Yitzchak Avuav brought down in the Bet Yosef, he deduced from the text of the Lacha used by the Rambam that although it's critical that straps be inverted the moment that he puts on the tefillin, it doesn't matter if it happens afterwards. The Bet Yosef disagreed, saying that no, if someone puts it on correctly, it should still be on correctly the entire time, obviously. Right? The only question is afterwards. So he says that Rav Chida stated that the Rav Avuhav sided with the Geonim, who ruled that if someone mistakenly puts on the tefillin with the strap inverted and only discovers it later on, he's considered to be a sinner. So if he paid attention and made sure to put it on correctly, he cannot be held accountable. The Lacha Brura demonstrated from the Sefer of Eshkol, like the Rabbi Avuhav, it certainly fits with the Mordechai as well, who taught that the entire issue of the inverted strap is that the person making a bracha is bracha levatala. In this case, obviously, it wasn't a bracha levatala because he put it on properly. So he says, since the practice of fasting is only going to be, right, as an act of midat chasidut and not an obligation, so in this case, it's even less of a basis to afilu pachot shata tzarich, because you don't even have to fast at all, basically. Okay, 196. The Mishabra and the Ben Ish Chai did not mention this. This is talking about what? The initial loop. Because we said that it's only going to be, right, the initial loop, not anything else. Okay, but he says it's logical. Okay, 197 is talking about beautifying the mitzvah, which is basically for noi of mitzvah. So lehaderet a mitzvah, it's always better that the black is on the outside. He says many achronim issued this ruling, right? The Lekek testified that that was whenever the author of the Chazon Ish touched the tefillin, he ran his fingers along the straps that ran down across the shoulders to make sure that they were not inverted. He certainly wished to fulfill the mitzvah and the finest manner. Meaning like this: you put on the tefillin. What do you do after you put on the tefillin? Anyone else? Yes, exactly. So why are you doing that? To make sure that it's going to be properly down, that it's all straight. It's not going to be backwards. Even if it was backwards, it's no isur. But again, it was just done as a hidur to make sure that it's going to be done of beautifying the mitzvah.